Hello, spider friends. We're doing another hashtag disabled people problems because I'd done a thread the other day on Reddit and there was quite a few responses, so I just want to go through some more of them really and share some stories with you guys about problems like that disabled people have when people try to help without permission. Okay, so this one says, when I'm lifting something large, men will pick it up out of my hands without asking. This usually throws me off balance while I'm using my muscles, and I've gone home in pain a few times due to this. It's usually old or short men who don't know I'm disabled doing it, so I think it's an insecurity thing for them because I'm female and not my manager leaked that I'm disabled. Tall/young males never have done this. If they think I need help, they'll ask or not touch me or what I'm carrying if I say no. Another one. A well-meaning stranger tried to help me use my heavy-duty hoist for getting my power chair out of the car. It was broken and it wouldn't move the chair. It turned out to be a loose connector, so they thought they could help by trying to pull/yank the chair out of the car. Now, the chair weighs 100 kilograms alone. It's also fastened in 4 places to the hoist, which doesn't freely move. You must use the controller. Needless to say, they didn't help. They hurt their back, but walked away slightly awkwardly, trying to hide it. And I got to practice some assertiveness. Another one. Conveniently, my disability only causes people to help in the most useful ways. My biggest issue in public is dropping things and struggling to pick them up, and people will sometimes pick them up, which I do appreciate. Also, I walk with a cane, so people will often hold the door for me or maybe just press the accessible door button on their way in. I guess the one way I'd prefer people not to help is when I try to get them to go somewhere first, but they insist I go first. For example, if I'm walking on a sidewalk and need to cross a driveway, I will wave a car that wants to enter the driveway. They often wave me to go first, and I'm slow hobbling across the driveway while the driver sits there waiting, blocking traffic. I'm like, this happens to me all the time. You see a car and they're pulling out and you just wait because you know that you are slow and the car can go fast. But the driver is like trying to be polite and it's like, no, you go through. And you're like, no, I'm so slow. No, you please go through first because you're going to block traffic. And they're like, oh, you go. So you end up having to like hobble as fast as you can, usually hurting yourself in the process, like trying to be like polite to a car that's trying to be polite to you. And really what it is, it's internalized ableism. Like the actual response when I'd said like, why do we do this to ourselves, someone said was, external ableism leads to internal ableism, leads to feeling like a burden, leads to acting like we are not a burden. Like, I mean, they absolutely 100% hit the nail on the head there. Like, they're just completely 100% accurate in what they say. So another story that happened to me was me and my friend had gone to Sherwood Forest, the Sherwood Forest in Nottingham, and they had an all-terrain power wheelchair thing, an electric mobility scooter, the one that was designed to go on like the rough forest footpaths of Nottingham Forest or Sherwood Forest, whichever you prefer. It's the same thing. So while I'm filling in this form with just my basic like details, name, address, date of birth, because it's an insurance thing to hire the mobility scooter, the woman starts explaining the rules to my friend who is with me and not me. And she's about halfway through this and I'm like, excuse me, he's not renting this wheelchair, I'm renting the wheelchair. Don't explain it to him, explain it to me. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, you were filling in the form. I'm like, I'm perfectly capable of filling in information that I know by heart and listening to some arbitrary rules at the same time. And apparently the other lady who was in the shop went to my friend, oh, your wife is sassy, I like that. And I'm like, she's lucky I didn't hear that, because I'm like, sassy? Sassy, first of all, not his wife. But second of all, sassy, no, frustrated that people don't speak to me when I am the subject in discussion. This is a big problem that happens even with people who know me. Not my best friend who, like, we've got a system sort of now for dealing with people, but it happens a lot with my mother, because I've been having to rely on my mother for pushing me about in the wheelchair because of my broken collarbone. I'm not wearing the sling right now, but I still can't put like my full weight on it, and it's starting to get sore with me just holding it. But I do have a bit more range of movement in it at this point, which is why I'm not wearing it today. But my mother talks over me, talks for me, and divulges information about me that I'd prefer she did not divulge to complete strangers who I don't know. So, like, I've had several words with her about this. Like, Mum, I know you're just trying to help. I know that you're trying to help me. You're just doing this on my behalf, but you're not helping me. So please don't do that. For example, we were in Asda, the supermarket, and I said, oh, my friend, she got these cheesy hula hoops the other day and they were really nice, and I want to see if they've got any. I want to get some. So we wheel past where the hula hoops are on the crisp aisle, and I see that there's plain hula hoops, there's beef hula hoops, there's salt and vinegar hula hoops, but there is no cheese hula hoops. And I'm like, oh, that's fine, okay. So my mum leaves me in the middle of the aisle, which I also hate, because being that my arm's in a sling, I can't actually manually operate the wheelchair on my own. And then she started bending over and looking, and she's going, well, there's ready salted, there's salt and vinegar, there's beef, I don't see any. I'm like, I can see that, ma'am. She's like, I'm only trying to help you. I'm like, I don't need you to help me. I can see. My eyes are not the problem. My arm, my legs, my back, they're all problems. My eyes working perfectly fine. I can see that there are no cheesy hula hoops. You don't have to dramatically go over to the shelf and bend halfway down. I'm at actual eye level with the blinking shelf. I can see that there's no cheesy hula hoops. Stop making yourself out to be a martyr. I didn't ask you to do that. Don't bloody do it. See, I tend to get quite frustrated with my mum, because when I'm in the wheelchair, she reverts to me being a child. So, like, we were coming out of Greg's, and there's a little bit of a lip on the doorway, and so she went, over the bump we go, like you would to a child. I'm like, Mother, don't do that. Don't do that. She's like, I'm only trying to help. I'm like, you're not being helpful by speaking to me like I'm a child. I'm a full-grown adult person. I speak 6 languages. I don't need you to go, over the bump we go, when we're leaving a shop. Now, if my best friend had done that, if my best friend had done that in a sing-song voice, I would have known he was joking, told him to F off, maybe punched him in the arm, and we would have had a good laugh about it. But the difference is that I know my mother's being serious when she's like, over the bump we go. Don't need that. And it's bad enough when it's coming from strangers who will bend down and sort of be like, oh, and how are you doing? Oh, you've been in the wars, haven't you? Oh, you're lucky you've got your mum looking after you. Like, I just hate it. I just hate it. I'm like, I'm an adult. I'm not a child. Please don't speak to disabled people like that if they're in a wheelchair. Please speak to disabled people like they're a normal human being, and that also like goes like just for any kind of disability, not just people in wheelchairs, but like don't talk to them like the children. Like speak to them with a bit of respect. Like if they're an adult, speak to them like they're an adult. It's pretty much that simple, and that goes double for my mother. Just to sort of address another disabled person's problem. Hashtag disabled problems. A lot of disabled people like me who have limited mobility, but also a mobility that changes from day to day. Like some days I can walk perfectly fine inside a house. Sometimes I need my walking stick. Sometimes I'm fine just walking with my roller tour. Sometimes my hips are really playing up, so I need to be in like a wheelchair. So my mobility changes a lot, and something that I know is terrible for not just me, but all disabled people, is that we get particularly scared and annoyed that we're going to get called out because our mobility changes frequently. Like, we get accused of faking. And trust me, we do that to ourselves enough. Like, I broke my collarbone and I was telling myself, like, you're over exaggerating. You can't be in that much pain. You can move your hands so your arm's not broken. Like, that's actually internalized ableism. Like, we do this to ourselves. So we really don't need, like, you doing it as well. Like, judging someone who's in a wheelchair who then stands up. Sometimes you might need a wheelchair to get about because, like, you're not fully able to walk a lot that day, but you can walk a little bit. And I think we need to, like, really normalise people's mobility needs changing, because it just makes us so scared. And then sometimes it makes us, like, afraid to use the facilities that are specifically designed for us because somebody else has it worse. Like, oh, should we take up the disabled seats because I can walk a bit and I could probably go up those stairs and sit in those seats, even though that'll be a struggle for me. But what if somebody else has it worse? Like, we do this to ourselves all the time, and we really shouldn't. So, like, if you want to be, like, an ally to the disabled people, like, don't stare, don't judge if, like, we're going from a seated position to a standing position, or if we are walking unaided for like short distances. Like, we just don't need that.